The J-20A, officially designated as a fifth-generation stealth fighter by Chinese authorities, remains a central feature in the ongoing narrative of China's military modernization. However, a deeper, fact-based analysis reveals a far more complex and problematic reality. Despite over a decade of development and public promotion, the aircraft suffers from severe technological, operational, and systemic disadvantages that are routinely concealed beneath layers of tightly managed propaganda. One of the most persistent and damaging issues affecting the J-20A is the extended struggle with propulsion technology. A fifth-generation fighter must possess certain critical characteristics, foremost among them, the ability to supercruise, or fly at supersonic speeds without afterburners, for extended periods. This depends entirely on the engine. For years, the J-20A was powered by engines that were ill-suited for a platform of its weight and intended capability. These early engines limited speed, maneuverability, altitude performance, and operational range. China's inability to produce a domestic high-thrust, low-observable turbofan engine revealed a core vulnerability in its aerospace industry. The WS15 engine, which has been under development for years, has repeatedly missed key milestones. Internal reports and leaks over time have pointed to major challenges in thermal management, blade durability, pressure ratio efficiency, and integration with the airframe. Only in the past year has China begun to claim that a version of the WS-15 is flying operationally. But there is no independent data, no open test results, no cross-evaluation with foreign air forces, and no transparent disclosures to confirm that this engine is performing as advertised. This extreme secrecy calls into question the credibility of the claims. In other defense programs worldwide, such advances would be accompanied by demonstrable proof, either in multinational exercises or cooperative demonstrations. With the J-20A, these proof points simply do not exist. Beyond propulsion, the fundamental stealth design of the aircraft remains compromised. Effective stealth requires exacting standards in shaping, materials, and thermal signature management. Analysts have long noted that certain structural decisions in the J-20A, such as the use of forward canards and the lack of nozzle shrouding at the engine exhaust, generate detectable signatures across both radar and infrared spectrums. The canards, while useful for maneuverability, reflect radar energy and increase the frontal radar cross-section. The rear section of the aircraft, particularly the engine nozzles, lacks stealth optimization. Infrared suppression also appears limited, making the jet more vulnerable to heat-seeking sensors and modern IRST, infrared search and track systems. There are also significant concerns regarding the quality of the radar-absorbent materials used on the J-20A. These coatings are critical for reducing a jet's radar signature. In advanced programs, they are constantly refined, field-tested, and adapted based on operational experience. In the case of the J-20A, the nature, performance, and longevity of these materials are unknown. There is no public data or military exercise footage demonstrating how well the coatings hold up in operational conditions such as humidity, rain, dust, or high-G maneuvers. Questions remain over whether the jet maintains its stealth features after routine flight cycles or requires extensive post-flight maintenance and recoating. Operationally, the aircraft's record is largely undefined. Unlike other fifth-generation jets that have been flown in joint operations, simulated dogfights, strike missions, and multinational exercises, the J-20A's appearances are limited to highly scripted domestic flyovers, parades, and controlled military demonstrations. These staged events offer no insight into combat readiness, tactics, interoperability, or pilot training standards. There is no information on how the aircraft performs in contested environments, electronic warfare situations, or complex missions such as beyond visual range (BVR) interception, high-speed evasion, or air superiority operations in cluttered airspace. This absence of data severely undermines the credibility of China's claims regarding the jet's role as a peer to other global fifth-generation platforms. Avionics, sensor fusion, and software integration, critical pillars of modern air combat, are similarly wrapped in a fog of self-reporting and state-controlled media releases. The J-20A is said to employ advanced AESA radar, distributed sensors, and high-speed data links. However, no evidence exists to confirm the real-time effectiveness of these systems. In advanced air forces, these capabilities are validated through years of operational usage and collective training feedback. In contrast, China's strategy has been to announce such capabilities unilaterally, with no independent verification and no transparency about development timelines, software reliability, or cyber resilience. Without clear documentation of how these systems perform in real conditions, such features remain theoretical at best. Moreover, despite claims of large-scale production, the total number of combat-ready aircraft remains uncertain. It is unclear how many airframes are truly operational, how many are pre-production units used for testing, and how many are prototypes being passed off as deployed assets. This lack of accountability clouds any judgment about the scale and maturity of the program. There are growing suspicions that many of the aircraft featured in air shows and official media may be demonstrators or limited capability units not representative of a full combat loadout. Even within China's tightly controlled internal reporting, signs of ongoing revisions to the airframe and variants suggest that the J-20A is still a work in progress rather than a completed, combat-ready system. Newer versions are being tested with different configurations, possible avionics upgrades, and even two-seat arrangements. While this may be framed as technological progress, it more likely reflects an urgent effort to close capability gaps and retrofit older units that do not meet operational requirements. All of this plays into a broader pattern in China's military-industrial ecosystem, the use of highly publicized weapon platforms for narrative power rather than battlefield effectiveness. The J-20A serves as a psychological weapon as much as a physical one. It is presented as a symbol of parity with global military powers, but its reality appears much less advanced. Behind every media release and ceremonial display lies a system that heavily restricts access to facts, criminalizes dissenting disclosures, and suppresses any acknowledgement of weakness or failure. While the J-20A is often portrayed as a hallmark of China's rise in aerospace technology, the evidence available suggests otherwise. Years of engine development delays, unresolved stealth vulnerabilities, unclear avionics performance, limited deployment transparency, and the complete lack of independent testing paint a picture of a platform that is still not fully operational, not combat tested, and not independently validated. It remains a state-controlled narrative device, shaped to influence perception rather than meet the demands of real-world conflict. Until the Chinese government allows full transparency into its design, performance, and usage, the true capability of the J-20A will remain as suspect as the system that created it,